Good evening. Good to have you with us in the 8 p.m. edition of the Urban Debate. We continue to put the spotlight on the UK travel rules for India. Yesterday, we spoke about it. We got your views. We highlighted the various challenges and hurdles and experiences that people are having, especially students from India, while making their plans and traveling to United Kingdom. A day after India called the UK policy discriminatory and warned of reciprocal measures, Britain has modified its travel guidelines, but despite the new rules, Indians will still be considered non-vaccinated, even if you've taken 2 shots of the Covishield, of the vaccine that is now approved and accepted by United Kingdom as Covishield and not any other avatar or formulation of it. Even then, you will have to follow the guidelines that involve you staying in a quarantine for 14 days, taking tests prior to your departure from India, 2 tests after arrival in United Kingdom. Covishield has been approved, but only from a few nations, says United Kingdom. It's actually listed about 18 countries where Covishield taken. Those people can come in without restrictions, but India is not on those list of approved countries. So there is still a lot of confusion and chaos. The other aspect beyond Covishield is recognizing India's certificate authority, which is COVIN, that issues us our vaccine certificate. UK is yet to recognize this, we understand. The British High Commission to India has clarified that Indian travellers to UK must follow the rules for non-vaccinated, that they are engaging with the government of India, they are still exploring recognition of vaccine certification. And until that happens, we got to follow the non-vaccinated rules. So there is a big question mark still. We'll also be talking to the chief of the COVIN app, R.S. Sharma, in just a bit to understand what has been the communication with the UK authorities, what are exactly their issues with this portal or the certification, and how soon can that get resolved. Though R.S. Sharma seems to suggest there isn't a problem, but we can see from the rules that exist that something is amiss. So is Covishield the problem? Is COVIN the problem? Is lack of trust in Indian authorities the problem? Or is it simply the classic British bureaucracy that is really the problem? I say good evening to Bantika Ghosh, health editor for The Print, author of Billions Under Lockdown. Joining me this evening, Murli Neelkantan, lawyer specializing in healthcare law and former global general counsel for Cipla and Glenmark. Dr. Prateek Samdani, internal physician and intensivist for Breach Candy and several other hospitals here in Mumbai. Achal Malhotra, former diplomat for Indian foreign policy expert, joining me this evening as well. Murli, let me start off with you. Why are we at this point? What is so complicated in a process for a country like India to get its vaccine certificate and vaccine recognized by the world?
It's unprecedented. So let's start from there, that everybody had to start from a position without knowing that we are going to be in a situation where we are now, requiring certificates. I say that it was not known perhaps last summer, but by the time we got to November, we knew that there was going to be a certification process. Who knew and when? The EU put out consultation in November last year saying we're going to have a certification process. We're going to have a portal. We're going to have a process for issuing certificates. We will decide which vaccines, how it is to be certified, what are the rules that we will set out. Now, those consultations finished and formal guidelines were issued in January. So if India wanted to participate, as many other non-EU countries have participated, we could have participated then. Now, today's interview with Mr. Sharma suggests that there have been discussions, but if countries like Morocco have managed to integrate with the EU, then it's really surprising that India hasn't managed to integrate with the EU. So that is one part of it. We could have got our system in place, we could have got the certification right. The other issue is approval and authorization of the vaccine itself. Again, the process itself should have been considered not by Serum, but by the Indian government. Serum doesn't intend to sell in the EU, so it doesn't need authorization for that vaccine in the EU. But during the understanding of the process for the EU Green Pass, if India had indicated to Serum and said, please, can you get this listed as an authorized vaccine in the EMA, in the MHRA, then we would have crossed both these issues out. We would have had a system that has integrated with the EU Green Pass. We would have had a vaccine that was authorized for use in the EMA. Now, if we had ticked these two boxes, and we had almost a year to do it, starting November last year, then I think we wouldn't have been in the situation. If travelers from Morocco, Albania, Israel don't have this issue, why are we facing this issue? It surprises me that we haven't figured it out.
Well, in fact, just to take that point further, the changes that have happened today, as they have approved Covishield, they've mentioned certain countries, including Australia, Antigua and Barbuda, Barbados, Bahrain, Canada, Dominica, Israel, Japan, Kuwait, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Singapore, South Korea, and we are not there. Now, any insights, Murli, as to how this works? Is it, again, not about the product, not about the vaccine, but the one who's applying for this certificate or approval or recognition from UK, which would be the government in each case?
Today's update suggests that it is not the vaccine itself, but it is the certification of it. And that is why I said that if we had a system that was integrated with the EU Green Pass, then it would have been very difficult for the Brits to stand up and say, listen, we don't like your certification, because we've reached what effectively is the benchmark that we have for COVID certification and for vaccine certification. So it would have been very difficult for the British to say now, hey, we have a problem with the certification itself. So again, if we had done all of this in November, perhaps in January, we wouldn't be where we are today.
Okay, let me also bring in Abantika Ghosh on this conversation. Abantika, for several days now, there's been quite a bit of buzz and conversation about Covishield and how a vaccine that was actually developed in UK itself is not being recognized. And many people say this was racist, this was discriminatory on behalf of United Kingdom. But you have reported, and it's now becoming clearer that that is also one of the bigger issues, which is recognizing the certification authority. Even there, Abantika, UK has very clear rules on what that certificate is supposed to say, and who that authority is supposed to be. Then where is the hurdle for us? Is COVID the problem? Is Health Ministry as the authority the problem? Where is this hurdle?
So from what I hear, there are problems about the authenticity of the certificate generated using CoWIN. Apparently, they are spooked by these reports of false or, falsified certificates. B, there are issues about CoWIN not being compliant with UK's internet rules. These are the two primary concerns. And also, I think primarily the problem is that the certificate that you're giving me, how do I sort of check whether it's authentic? That's one. Also, they have been insistent, not just now, earlier also, that there should be a process that you present a passport when you're entering UK, which has a stamp which says vaccinated or something like that, so that the passport sort of is an integrated document. But two things. A, currently there is an option in the CoWIN website that anybody who goes online, they can check any third party can check the validity, the authenticity of a particular certificate. That's number one. And the second thing is, as early as June, we had actually given that option that one could feed their passport numbers, and then you would get a fresh certificate which would have your passport number also. Apart from the usual thing of Aadhaar, etc., you would have it would also have your passport number. Those are two things. Also, see, India's point, I was talking to people throughout the day today. India's point also is that there is a model document that was drawn up by the UN and by ICO, which is the International Civil Aviation Organization. And our vaccine certificate is perfectly in line with that template, with the sole exception that in that template, that you have the date of birth listed. Whereas ours lists the age of the vaccine recipient, which is basically, technically, it's just the date of year, not the date of birth. That is one difference. And the other difference, of course, is that that template does not have a photo or a message. Ours does. So, I mean, these are the only two differences I could find in the two documents.
So let me ask you this question. The differences that you're pointing out, is this how those within the government are also wondering and trying to figure out where exactly are we missing the plot?
So, when I was talking to government officers, the one, if you also see any of the interviews, everybody is talking about this one difference between the date of birth and the age. That is the only difference. But you compare the two documents and this one difference, I mean, you can't miss it. That is also a difference, and that's a factual position. So when I asked that, I did not actually get a reply. So, yeah.
Okay, interesting. But it just goes on to show, this gives you an insight as to just how confusing and chaotic it is. And I would want to add that, while we do ask questions of at what point did our government, our authorities take it up with their UK counterparts, I do sense there is some amount of British bureaucracy challenge which also is playing a big part here. I don't know how many of the other countries that Murli and I were just naming figured it out. Maybe we can ask them that question. But Ambassador Achal Malhotra, how is it possible? It befuddles me that a country, the pharmaceutical hub of the world, can't get this simple issue resolved, which so many other countries in the world have managed to.
Well, yes, in the first instance, it absolutely made no sense that Covishield was not included in the list of 4 vaccines which were approved, particularly considering that Covishield was being manufactured in India under a license from a company which is UK-based, and its UK version was included and the Indian version was not included. It itself was very baffling. And since then, the government of India had taken up this issue with the government of UK, and very firmly. And if you have seen some of the public statements which have been made by the Foreign Secretary and the External Affairs Minister, and we have even gone to the extent of threatening about taking any the reciprocal and retaliatory measures. And therefore, after the External Affairs Minister met his counterpart in New York, I think the first part of it has already been resolved. That is, now Covishield is amongst the 4 which are listed. And now there is a question of COVIN's acceptance, and hopefully it will also be resolved. But why should this happen? Yes, you have raised a very pertinent question. I think there are multiple reasons for that. And one is the British bureaucracy. The other are technical issues like the date of birth and the age. And third, I think, is the mindset. Fourth is the trust deficit. Let's not forget, we are talking about UK. This has become a topic for discussion. But there are small countries like Singapore. They don't even allow Indians to return to Singapore. If you have come back to New Delhi, if you are back in India and you want to go to Singapore, you are not allowed. As simple as that. So that's perception. Maybe because the way we had second wave, and the fact that we are still having a large number of COVID cases coming, particularly from Kerala, which is again from where a lot of people travel to UK, and also the trust deficit, because there have been numerous cases reported in India. How the certificates have been issued, even about the vaccination. So it's a combination of factors. I think we should allow some more time to government. One solve. The Covishield is very much on this. You can take another view, say, okay, UK has given you by one hand and has taken away from by the other hand. Another way of looking at it also. But I think sooner or later we'll get over this technical issue also.
I think,
after
Ambassador Malhotra, I think it's worse what has happened because they have essentially recognized Covishield, named certain countries, and left us out of it. I mean, what else shows of the lack of trust, if that is what it is, or the perception of how, how big a problem of COVID in India is, as US perceives it, clearly plays a larger part than the vaccine, the formulation of the vaccine, the manufacturer's credibility or anything else. Murli, you wanted to make a point before I go to Dr. Rajesh Parekh? I think you're on mute. Murli, you'll have to unmute yourself.
Sorry, I just want to clarify that this is not against Indians.
Right.
So a British person vaccinated in India faces the same quarantine as an Indian vaccinated in India to get back to the UK. So it is not against Indians. It is against vaccination in India.
So it's not racist to that extent.
It is not racist. It has nothing to do with the vaccine itself. So I know of British passport holders who've had vaccinations in India and had to quarantine when they go back to the UK. So let's not, I think there has been a lot of press calling this racist, anti-Indian, all of these wonderful things. It may be many things, but I know for a fact, it is my own personal experience that it has nothing to do with Indians. It has to do with everybody who wants to enter the UK, irrespective of nationality.
Okay, so what else could it be? Dr. Rajesh Parekh, good evening to you. Could this also be about the way, reports emerge and the kind of cases that we saw in the second wave, emergence of variants like the Delta variant and how we may have been behind the curve in detecting those and reporting to the world that we had found such a variant and how it behaves, a general lack of trust about what's coming from India?
Well, Tanvi, I must confess I'm somewhat amused. I am also a bit surprised, but I'm not astonished. Just to put some context into this, over the weekend I came to France, and at Roissy Airport, they looked at my certificate. We exchanged a few pleasantries for about 2 or 3 minutes, and of course they welcomed me. And being in Paris, I cannot resist quoting Napoleon, who described the English as a nation of shopkeepers. Now they graduated a lot beyond that by looting the world, but post Brexit, I think we have to empathize with them. They have become brokers and traders again. They're agents now working on behalf of countries like the United States, selling submarines to the Australians. And in that context, I think we should be a little compassionate in understanding the absurdity and the stupidity of British behavior. It just highlights, how awkward they have been about this whole thing. It's like the equivalent of saying that, of course, I recognize your nationality. You're welcome to my country, but I do not recognize your passport. Maybe there are other undercurrents below all this. But, just a polite reminder to the English who are listening in, most of their bureaucrats and ministers, love traveling in Jaguar cars and in, Land Rovers, and I'm sure they sip on Tetley tea. I think they just needed to be reminded what was the status of these companies before the Tatas took over and gave them a dignified platform across the world. I think the British need to adapt to the post-Brexit reality, the real politic. And I think it's just bravado to try and lecture to India that, oh, this is not racism. Whoever comes from India has a problem. We don't trust your certificate. I mean, come on.
So you're saying, Dr. Parekh, there is no scientific cause for concern that any country could have about the variants that exist there or the way the cases went up, or even for the fact that if some of their bureaucrat babus ended up reading the stories about fake vaccine certificates in our country and decided, well, the whole country needs to now prove much, much harder that they actually got vaccinated.
There is concern, Tanvi, except that it's diametrically in the opposite direction. I'd be very concerned about stepping into London. I had the option of going there. I felt safer coming to France. There's considerable mess going on in the UK in terms of COVID. They need to put their house in order. But, that apart, I mean, this is, an issue which the whole world is grappling with. We shouldn't look at it through a parochial lens. But in these times, to, negotiate this, to kind of broker this, as they did 200 years ago when they came to trade in spices in India, that, okay, now we're giving you this much. We recognize this vaccine, which we were not recognizing earlier. But we don't recognize your certificate, as I pointed out earlier. That's, saying I don't recognize your passport. So I really don't understand all this. Yes, there may be concerns, of course, legitimate concerns. And these are across the world. I don't think it's only Indians who can hack into the CoWIN app and produce a certificate for themselves. This can happen across the world in today's days of technology. A 16-year-old sitting in a classroom can do this kind of thing. But there are ways of dealing with this rather than putting a blanket quarantine on anybody who comes from here for 10 days. So I think the government is taking an appropriate approach to this. And with just a dash of humor, I might suggest, maybe you should just put Boris Johnson's mugshot on that certificate along with Narendra Modi, and maybe that might solve the problem.
Okay. I want to go back to the point that, Amandika, you mentioned earlier and dig a little deeper about the process itself. Of course, it's a new scenario. It's an unprecedented situation. We've not had to deal with vaccine travel or visas and tourism issues ever, in the recent times. So was that one of the issues that the government didn't realize, whether it's the MEA or the health ministry or the CoWIN guys who have to figure this out when it happens? The students have been making noise about it for a while. It just seems that we thought, okay, as long as we give you the vaccine shot on time for your travel, it should be all right.
So I don't know that much about the legal requirements of international travel and CoWIN certification. Vaccine certification, not CoWIN. But I think one issue that could have arisen is that normally what happens is in any sort of identity document in an airport, the person instinctively looks at a document and tries to match with the face. That's almost like instinct. Maybe there's a bit of a problem there. I don't know that because nobody is saying that. But also see that here's the problem. When this is a document that is given by a sovereign government. When you're raising issues like authenticity of that document, see, what does it take? It's not just India. Any country that has an online certification or where you can take a printout of a certificate, it doesn't take hacking. It takes a simple PDF editor to change the name and give a fake certificate. So if you're raising these kinds of, I would say, existential questions, then what is to guarantee that your own certificate is not being, somebody's not using a PDF editor? Because it's as simple as that.
No, and if we look at the CoWIN portal and all the facilities and various access options that they've provided, including a new portal that the government recently announced where anybody who wants to verify whether you're vaccinated or not can seek that information, and with an OTP you can give that approval. So these options are available, but none of this can be synced to the passport or travel, is it?
No. You can have your very vaccination certificate can carry your passport number as well. You can simply feed your passport. There is an option on the CoWIN platform. You can feed your passport details, and then you will get a certificate which has your passport details. Just that your passport, the physical passport, is not going to have a stamp that says you're vaccinated, which the UK seems to have been, talking about for some time. That option is not there. But as early as June, if I'm not mistaken, India had put in this facility that if you want to travel abroad, you can feed your passport details and you will get a vaccine certificate that has your passport number instead of your Aadhaar number or whatever other identity document you might have used. That is already there. Those two things are already there. The option of authentication and the option of including your passport details in the certificate are already there. Nothing needs to be done on that.
Murli, how is this supposed to be treated at a consolidated level? I mean, it's going to become very difficult for any country to start taking up this issue with each nation and to really streamline your process that matches with every nation. Now, I mean, if at the end of the day, if the problem is that our certificate doesn't exactly look like what you wanted it to look like, then we're not allowed. This could be a big challenge for international travel in pandemic times.
Absolutely. And also, again, I don't know the legal.
Avantika, let me just take that question across to Murli. And Murli, I think you're again on mute.
So I think there was a standard that was set, which is why I referred to the EU Green Pass process, where there was a standard set for what the certificate will contain, not just the physical features, but how it will be authenticated, what is the back end of it, what it will look like, how the QR code is going to be generated, how they can be verified. All of that existed since November. At least by January, we knew all of that. So whatever needed to be done to CoWIN to meet that requirement could have been quite easily done. We're not talking about a one-year project. They themselves took only a few months to develop it. All the other countries got on board within a few months thereafter. So I can't imagine that we would have taken how many months that we have for the last 6 months to just get our backend to feed into that for all of this data to be available to them for verification, which is the bit that surprises me. So it is not an issue with Serum Institute, as I said. It's primarily an issue with the Indian government realizing that this needed to be done and not having got it done when all the 16 other countries outside the EU have managed to do it. If Switzerland can do it, Albania can do it, Morocco can do it, Israel can do it. It's quite a shame that India hasn't managed to do it. It's not a huge IT process. So to me, that is where the missing link was. And we've discussed this once before. So months later, we're still finding that the government doesn't have an answer for why it is that it can't produce data that Europe requires. Now, will the UK accept that similar data? There is nothing better. So if we can demonstrate to the UK that, hey, listen, we are compliant with the EU Green Pass system, we have reciprocity with the EU, then there's no better system that you have in the UK. Isn't it easier to just accept it? I'm sure the UK would have come around. So to me, that there was a solution, could have done it quite easily. And it surprises me that we're still thinking that it is some mysterious diplomatic effort and not just a manner of getting this process done on CoWIN. We still seem to hear from government, and we had Mr. Sharma say it, that, we've had 2 rounds of technical discussion and now it is with the diplomats. No, this is not an issue of diplomacy. There's only that much diplomacy can do. What we need here is a technical solution that should have been tested and worked before 1st of July.
A technical solution to enable what?
To enable verification of the vaccination.
For UK's immigration authorities to verify it when you land there or at any other point?
Correct, anywhere. So in Europe, for example, you can use your QR code and they will be able to read it and it immediately authenticates vaccination through the system.
Right.
It's not such a difficult thing to do. We have a QR code on the vaccine certificate. Unfortunately, they are not convinced, I think, at this point that it authenticates it adequately. So these are all little things at the back end that can be done fairly quickly and without much effort, without much money being spent. So the same thing that we're doing now to say that third parties can now validate certificates in India, it's a similar thing that the EU is asking to say, can they also have a system where they can use the CoWIN data for authentication? So they're not asking for something that we haven't thought of ourselves. Why we haven't done it yet is really a mystery to me.
So, Ambassador Malhotra, because the officials also seem to be suggesting that now this has to be handled diplomatically, is this an issue we expect the prime ministers of the 2 countries to talk about when they meet this week in United States, and perhaps Prime Minister Modi having to weigh in on this and ask Boris Johnson to just get this resolved? Will we have to effectively do that?
I don't think so. I think this issue has already been raised by the External Affairs Minister with his counterpart. And if it comes to, there are always ways of making a mention or a reference to a small little irritants or these kind of irritants in the bilateral relations. Because ultimately, India-UK relations have got a much wider, kind of scope, and these irritants have got to be removed from here. But if you allow me, I wanted to raise another issue. Why have we created a global organization in the given case, for example, the World Health Organization? Why could not World Health Organization created a synchronized or a standard kind of certificate which was acceptable to the whole of the world? I mean, what is the point in spending, creating these kind of global institutions? That's a larger question, of course. I think somebody must address this question also,
Okay.
because after all, you are going by what vaccines are being accepted by WHO or not. First, you create a global organization, then you that does something. Then each country starts setting up their own standards according to, sometimes based on objective assessment, sometimes based on whims and fancies. So I think there's no point in having world organizations, global organizations like WHO in this given case. But coming back to diplomacy, yes, if there are diplomacy can work if the technical issues can also be sorted out
Okay.
simultaneously. It makes it easier for the diplomats to carry out the things and put it in a larger perspective. Well, this is not an issue on which India and UK can put their larger relationship at stake,
Right.
and let this create a bad taste, particularly when it is putting to inconvenience students and other travelers who have to travel to UK for one reason or the other.
Businessmen, politicians,
Businessmen,
ministers,
everybody,
students. I think it's the larger messaging which is a problem. It's not just to say, do we have to stay in quarantine for 14 days or do 2 additional tests, but how much of trust do you have in us as an institution and a government and our vaccinating authority and our certification authority? That's the larger messaging that really needs to be taken up with the United Kingdom government. Very quickly, I'm short on time, but Dr. Parikh, is there an answer to what Ambassador Malhotra is asking? What's the point of WHO? Does it have any role to play here? At one point, we thought, oh, as long as WHO recognizes the vaccine, all is well.
Oh, very quickly, Tanvi, 3 quick points. I'm in complete concurrence with what the ambassador says. He's absolutely right. But, in terms of recognizing the UA system, I think that might have been fine in the pre-Brexit era. I would be astonished again if they were to go by EU standards, since they're already out of the EU. And perhaps it's not a coincidence that the countries that were mentioned, which have got this, including Morocco, have not been former colonies of the United Kingdom. You might read something to it. But to end on a positive note, Tanvi, I've been twice on your show before. Each time you raised an issue and within 48 hours it was resolved. I'm reasonably confident you're going to hit a hat trick again. And very soon, I think the United Kingdom or whoever kind of is involved in these decisions will take a more rational view of it. And the issue will certainly get sorted out, which seems to be the general consensus of everybody on the panel.
Well, even if it takes more than a few days and several months, and for certain issues it has, and you all have been on panels of those discussions we've had on vaccine policies and opening up to foreign vaccines, we'll be at it. And this one just amazes me so much that we've reached this point, which is absolutely not necessary. But a key issue that's been raised here, which is what's the point of WHO and the approvals or the recognition that international organizations give if we actually have to go country to country or continent to continent and really get in sync with what their rules are. Completely out of time. Thank you to all 4 of you for joining me on this conversation. We continue with this conversation as the COVID chief, Mr. R.S. Sharma, joins me to give us more insights as to exactly what is going on. Mr. Sharma, you are the man of the hour to help us understand. There are comments now being made by the British High Commission that the hurdle really is with the certification, and we're looking to see how we can resolve that. Could you help us understand what that is?
It's a good question, but actually the question has no basis whatsoever, because I have not come across any statement of authoritative statement from the Britain, either UK High Commission or UK government, which says that they have a concern on the COVID certification process. So if there is no concern, if there is no message on concern, I mean, how do I respond to a question which is non-existent.
So let me just quote it to you again, but though I'm sure you've had many people say this to you through the day, that the spokesperson for British High Commission said we're exploring recognition of vaccine certification. Now, I don't know if they're exploring it with the wrong authority. You're saying nobody's approached you?
No. Tell me one thing. They are exploring the situation. Does it mean that they have expressed concern? It does not. So that's first thing is that obviously there is, as of now, to my knowledge, there is no concern has been expressed by the British authorities on the COVID certification process, number one. Number two, in order to just sort of elaborate on that question, let me say that we had a COVID global conference, which was inaugurated by our Honorable Prime Minister on 5th of July. And thereafter, we received a communication from the British High Commission through our Ministry of External Affairs that their national health system is interested in knowing more about COVID. So basically, we asked the MEA, and MEA told us that you can explain the COVID process to them. So the British High Commissioner met me on 2nd of September this month, and thereafter he told us that he was interested in knowing how COVID works and you have achieved so much of a scale and all that. So we set up a meeting, and I told him that I will set up my technical team with their technical team so they can exchange the architectural principles which have gone behind building COVID, and we will also like to understand their system. So they have had two meetings, one on 16th and another yesterday, and they have exchanged views. On 16th, the UK side explained their process of vaccination and certification. On 21st, our side explained the technology architecture of COVID, etc. And yet today itself, I have received a letter from the British High Commission saying that both the sides have completed the exchange of information on technical aspects of the issue, and therefore there's no need for a further kind of conversation because both these things have been explained properly. So that's the thing, that the events which have happened as far as COVID is concerned. And thereafter, even in the meetings, the proceedings of the meeting, the minutes of the meeting, I have not seen even a single sentence where it says that somebody expressed concern. So that, I think, the question is absolutely hypothetical.
Right. One angle that has been much talked about and reported is the format of the certificate itself. Now, while we are compliant with the EU Green Pass system, it seems a deeper scrutiny shows that there may be some minor differences between date of birth and age in what UK wants and what our certificate shows. Dr. Sharma, are these issues that were raised in these conversations?
No, actually, that's what I'm saying. You are just trying to extract answer to a question which does not exist. I'm sorry to say that. What I will say is that I have put before you honestly the actual factual situation which happened. With regard to the compliance of the EU standards and otherwise, let me share with you that the WHO came up with certain standards, data standards and encryption standards a few weeks back. And then we examined as to whether our process conforms to the WHO standards or not. And you will be happy to know that we are completely in alignment with the WHO process. We have every data point which is required, which means the identity of the person, his sort of the vaccine which has been administered, what was the date at which the first dose was given, the date at which the second dose was given, the vaccine type, the place where he was vaccinated. So every data point is there. The minor point, which was an optional point in WHO, is essentially date of birth. Now, as you know, we collect minimal information, which is basically the year of birth. Because our criteria is 18 years and plus, and earlier it was 45 years. So we collect the year of birth. Now, in order to ensure that somebody is traveling to UK or somebody is traveling to some country which requires date of birth also, the person before downloading the certificate can just plug in his date of birth, and then he will have a certificate with that date of birth. Obviously, that date of birth will conform to the document which he has submitted or the passport, if he's traveling to other countries. So therefore, there is absolutely no variance in our certification process from what is internationally recognized by the WHO. So I don't see any concern, and we are very certain that our process is the most robust process anywhere in the world. Let me tell you, there are a number of countries who have expressed interest. We are going to sign MOU with a number of countries in near future, which will replicate our system. We are going to have, our Prime Minister has directed us that to keep the system absolutely open source. We have already done that. We have built capacity in our system to train, to kind of deploy those systems in other countries. So I think this whole
So let me
question is
ask you
actually
this,
based-
Dr. Sharma, and I'm completely with you on what you said so far and the compliance that we've achieved. To your mind, what is it about India or people traveling from India to UK that they're treating us differently? For the longest time, there was a lot of noise around how it was about Covishield as a vaccine and Covishield not getting approval, even though it's a different formulation vaccine was used in UK itself, even though Covishield itself was developed in UK. But today, Adar Poonawalla says that Covishield has got approval. UK has given a list of countries from where people with Covishield will be considered vaccinated, but not India. So to your mind, what seems to be the issue then?
Well, I'm not aware as to what the issue is, and obviously I'm not here to make logical or illogical inferences. So essentially, I will not be able to answer that question as to what is the reason. Obviously, whatever be the reason, I am not able to pontificate on that. But I can certainly say that there has been absolutely no communication, no authoritative communication from the UK side regarding the concerns on the vaccination certificate. With regard to the other issue of why they are not recognizing why their policies like that, I think I am not really the person who is authorized to speak on those issues.
Would you say it's irrational and or absurd?
Say it again.
Would you say it seems irrational and absurd what UK is doing when the entire world is following a similar set of rules, when there are international standards that have been set up by WHO and EU? This seems to be one sole different problem.
Look, Tanvi, I am here as the chairman of the Empowered Group on COVID. So I will restrict and as you know, in government, everybody has some fixed responsibility. So I may have a personal view on the issue which you are saying, but I will not be able to give you any statement on that issue because that's beyond my mandate. That's beyond my remit. And that's where the matter stands.
Okay, fair enough. I want to ask you one larger question, Dr. R.S. Sharma. We've come up with several options as we continue to build on COVID and make it easier for vaccine certification. The latest, app that was launched speaks about how anybody who's seeking to verify my vaccination status can just seek that information, and after my approval, it directly reaches them. Similarly, are there, is this a facility that's available even for international travelers, for international agencies to check? If I go to a hotel, if I go to an immigration officer in any part of the world, can they do this? Is there a QR code system that works internationally?
Yes, the QR code which our certificate has got, which actually is also put on the mobile devices in the digital locker. So it's a digital artifact. You can publish this, you can print the certificate, that's okay. But that printing does not bring any additional value because that certificate is available on your mobile. So you can just show your QR code. Now the question is the QR code is encrypted by our private key. There is a system of, sort of public key, private key pair. So we encrypt it with our private key. Anybody who has got access to our public key, which is public actually, which is available on our COVID website, which is accessible from anywhere in the world. There, if you use that public key, you can read our certificate and the content therein, and then you can be satisfied that the certificate has indeed been issued by the government of India, and the certificate has not been meddled with or has not been changed or sort of anything has been done with it. So it establishes the authenticity and integrity of the certificate.
Okay, pardon me if I sound a little tech challenged, but Is there another option that syncs our vaccine information directly into our passports? Does it already exist, or can that be worked on?
Say it again. I didn't.
Is there an option that directly syncs my vaccine status to my passport? For it to get linked with my passport information.
Yeah, sure. Your vaccination can be linked to your passport, and that's what is happening. Suppose you got vaccinated using Aadhaar or using driving license or any other document which is actually accepted at the vaccination centers, and now you are traveling abroad and you want your passport to be linked and your passport to be printed on the vaccination certificate. That facility is available with us, so we can do that. So you are right; it can be linked to your passport, certainly.
Okay, I just want to read this out to you. This statement has a fresh statement from the British High Commissioner. Alex Ellis has just come, and the statement first talks about how we are clear Covishield is not a problem. UK is open to travel, and we're seeing a lot of people going from India to UK, tourists, business people, and students. It goes on to talk about that. Then it says, we've been having detailed technical discussions regarding certification with the builders of Covin and NHS app. About both apps, they are happening at a rapid pace to ensure that both countries mutually recognize the vaccine certificates issued by each other. Is that something that we will also have to do, since you've had conversations about their certification process, that even for India to relook at the quarantine rule for UK travellers, you will need to recognize their certificate process?
Look, our Honorable Minister of Health has already given a statement on this issue of reciprocity, so I don't want to elaborate on that. I will limit myself to the fact that we have had discussions and there have been no concerns expressed. Similarly, there have been no official communication from the UK side on the issue of COVID certificate, concerns related to COVID certificate. Right. That is the status as of now.
Okay, so you've clarified it once and for all, and I think what the British High Commissioner is saying also indicates the same thing. It isn't an issue, but the two technical meetings have happened, conversations about each other, understanding each other's system has taken place. And this is something that was only raised in September, Dr. R.S. Sharma. Am I correct? That the British Commission only approached you in September and not before that to know information?
No. They had participated in the global COVID conclave on 4th of July. Thereafter, they have contacted our Ministry of External Affairs, where they had said that the national health system of UK has shown interest in COVID.
Right.
And that's where the conversation began. So it was not by way of examining the.
But it took them from July to September end to get to this point. It took that long for them to actually get insights that they wanted.
No. I mean, come on. Our system is an absolutely open system.
Right.
So we are very happy. We have made it open source, in fact. As you know, our Prime Minister had directed that the system must be made open source and must be offered as a gift to many countries.
Yes.
And now we are in the process of signing MOU with a number of countries. So we are going to replicate in some sense as COVID is going internationally to many countries. So that is, we are very happy to explain to anybody who is interested in COVID to understand the architectural principles of COVID. So that's not a normal discussion which we have had.
I completely understand what you're saying. And my point was actually about the delay from the other end. Often we speak about the classic British bureaucracy and the red tapeism that even exists there. And if the delay was from their end between July and September to find out this basic information, if they had this conversation with you in July or August itself, our students wouldn't have had to go through so much of trouble. That's what I was trying to understand. But congratulations on the move of taking this app international as well, and taking it to other countries. Thank you so much, Dr. R.S. Sharma, for speaking to us and taking our questions and allaying all our doubts.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Tanvi, for having me on your platform. Thank you.
Well, it looks from our conversations from experts, from what Dr. R.S. Sharma of the Covin app himself said, that the meetings have concluded with the British High Commission, the technical meetings that were held from both sides, and they have concluded. Now, it remains to be seen how quickly UK can move on it and really green light travel for people from India to United Kingdom that doesn't involve a quarantine period and multiple tests. Essentially recognizes the fact that those who've been vaccinated in India are actually vaccinated and are not treated as unvaccinated people. That's the big issue, and that's the big story. Let's see how quickly that can happen. Now one hopes it's as soon as possible. Thank you for joining us.